Okay, so here we are with the third and, so we are with the third and so far final of the Boss Fight Studios Power Stars unboxing. And as you can see, it's Flash Gordon. If we look at the cross sell on the back, we see that there is a fourth figure that I don't have yet, and that's the Phantom. But I do have him back ordered on Big Bad Toy Store. So hopefully I will be getting him sometime this month. It said it was supposed to be here in May. Uh, the previous two figures that I'd opened are Ming the Merciless, which I replaced his cape with the cape from the McFarlane Robin, because I thought that worked better for Ming than it did for Robin, and Ming's cape worked better for Robin than it did for Ming, and vice versa, and all that kind of stuff. And then we had Thun, which I was very happy to get Thun. So we've got 3 Flash Gordon figures all together. Hopefully we will get some more in the future. I would love to have, a whole plethora of Flash Gordon figures. Love to have Dale and Zarkov and Prince Baron and King Vultan and Princess Aura and all those. So let's go ahead and read the bio on the back. A dynamo on the sports field and a daredevil pilot, Flash Gordon is an adventurer like no other. Flash had traveled the world, charting unknown lands and using his charm, physical skills, and courage to come out on top in many dangerous situations. The pure-hearted and forthright Flash turned foes into friends, and his exploits, tales of which filled newspapers, made him famous. The close approach of the planet Mongo to Earth, with the consequent earthquakes, tsunamis, and hurricanes, led Flash and his companion Dale Arden his companions Dale Arden and Dr. Zarkov, landing on the world and encountering its tyrannical ruler, Ming the Merciless. I was having a little bit of a hard time reading it because you can see like the blue background. It's kind of dark with the text. It looks better on screen, and it might be better if the lighting weren't so warm in here. It's if it were a cooler lighting, maybe I could have read it better, but oh well, c'est la vie. So let's go ahead and get them off the package. And this one seems to be a bit better glued than the other two I had, and it is indeed tearing some of the printing off of the package. It's not like the other two. Well, I guess it was on that side. Maybe I just went from the wrong side. So that's something they're going to want to work on. They're going to want to get it I like when I can tear it off and still keep the artwork intact, but you still want the package to actually adhere to the card back. That's kind of important. So now we got him out of the package, and we can see that Flash comes with a few accessories. He comes with this ray gun, and I called it a blaster last time, but I'm like, no, it's Flash Gordon. You call it Flash Gordon. They didn't have the word blaster yet. And then we have an alternate head. So he's got 2 different heads. And then we have this sword, which looks like kind of like a medieval broadsword. Fitting for Flash Gordon, I think, because he's a noble character, very knight-like. And then came out of the package pretty easily. And here's Flash Gordon himself. And like most superheroes, Flash is adorned in primary colors. He has a blue, I don't know what you call that. It's not quite a helmet because it doesn't cover the top of his head. It's not quite headphones because it wraps all the way around his head. It's I don't know, like the thing that Gambit wears. I don't know, with the hair hanging out the top. Now, Flash did often wear a device like this over his head in the comics, so that makes sense. And then he's got a red skin-tight shirt with some circular medallions around the collar, yellow sash about the waist, brown belt over the sash, black pants with a yellow stripe down the side, and blue boots. And we can compare Flash to somewhere around here. I know I had him. I just saw that figure. I know I just saw him. Yeah, there he is. I found him. we can compare this version of Flash to our NECA Flash Gordon. And you can see that they both have the same basic costume. They are colored slightly different. For example, the NECA figure has like this dark blue pants with like this sort of metallic sheen to it, and then some dark brown boots, as opposed to the black pants and blue boots. They both have the same kind of funky helmet thing, and this Flash also came with an alternate head. So yeah, they're both kind of based on the same uniform. He wore this uniform fairly often in the comic strips, as I recall, in the later part of the 1930s. And the Filmation cartoon, he wore an outfit very similar to this. Let's go ahead and swap out the head, and we can see it's on a ball joint, pops off rather easily. And then we can pop our other Flash Gordon head on here. And it's a tight fit, but we can get it on there. It just needs to be broken in a little bit. So there he is with the unmasked head. And then he looks a lot more like how he looked on the Filmation cartoon. So yeah, that's what he looks like with that. So, and then he's got the ray pistol, ray gun, blaster, whatever you want to call it. And it fits into his hand quite nicely. He does have a separate trigger finger, which is a lot different from the Superpowers figures that these are inspired by. I never saw any trigger fingers on any of the vintage Superpowers figures. And it's not like these ray guns have a trigger anyway, but the Phantom's going to have, automatic pistols, and those should probably have a trigger guard. So hopefully he'll have a trigger finger just like these guys. I don't see why he wouldn't. And then the other weapon would be his sword, and we could probably fit that into his left hand, I'm sure, since the pistol fits in pretty well. There we go. And there Flash Gordon is ready for action with both of his accessories. So we'll put the other head back on there for now. There we go. Looks pretty badass. Now, like Ming, he does have a sheath for his sword. That goes in there like that. And he does have a working holster for his pistol. And it goes in there just like that. Flash's weapons when they're not in use, so that's good. Nowhere else to put the extra head, though. It's not like people have like a head pouch on their belt that they carry around their extra head with. We usually just come with one head as human beings, so that's to be expected. So Flash Gordon, much like the other two figures in this line, and much like the vintage Superpowers figures that inspired them, here's Flash next to Green Lantern, just for the sake of comparison. He has a similar build to Green Lantern, I think. Some of these Superpowers figures are bulkier than others, but Flash has the same kind of lean, muscular build that Green Lantern has. So I felt like that was an appropriate comparison. Also, since Buster Crabbe, the original actor that played Green Lantern, was an Olympic swimmer, let's have a look at him next to Aquaman. And again, pretty similar build to Aquaman. Okay, so anyway, Flash Gordon has the same sort of articulation that a classic Superpowers figure has, with a couple of additions that I noticed on the other few figures. For one thing, like I pointed out before, his head is ball jointed, so it can move in all manner of ways. He can tilt his head quizzically to the side. He can look up about that far, look down about that far. Not the best range of motion as far as looking up and looking down, but certainly better than a Superpowers figure, which those can only rotate their head from side to side. Flash's arms rotate all the way around at the shoulder, and that's it for the arm articulation. It's pretty basic 80s style action figure articulation. That's to be expected on a toy like this that's supposed to be like an 80s style action figure. Leg kicks up about that far, leg kicks back about that far. He can do the splits, no problem. So I notice there's a little bit of schmutz on the back of his gluteus maximus there. On the back of one of his buttocks is a little bit of yellow paint. So hopefully I can clean that off later. Flash bends at the knee about 90 degrees. Again, like a Superpowers figure, but in addition to that, he's got a little bit of an extra articulation here, so we can actually rotate the lower leg at the knee. So that's pretty cool. He does not have a boot cut, even though it looks like I can see some glue there. That is a separate piece of plastic. They could have given him a boot cut if they wanted to, but I don't really see the point of it since he already rotates at the knee. It's pretty much the same thing. So, so yeah, pretty simple, pretty basic action figure articulation, the kind of thing we've come to expect from Superpowers style figures. And like I said, holding him up next to some Superpowers figures, he does fit right in with the 80s Superpowers line. He looks like he would have, if Flash was a DC character at the time they made Superpowers, they could have easily made this figure in the 80s to go with it. And oh, here he is next to Batman from the McFarlane line. So you can see what it looks like next to a McFarlane Superpowers figure. And they both look pretty good. So here's Flash with his ally, Prince Thun. They look pretty good together. You can see Thun is a lot bulkier, a lot more muscular than Flash is. And Flash next to his arch nemesis, Ming the Merciless. So pretty cool. I like the colors on this. They pop really nicely. The blue is a little bit on the purplish side, I think. I would probably prefer it to be a little bit more of the traditional comic book type of blue. Like you see how this Flash is. I think that would have worked better, at least for the cowl. The dark blue works fine for the boots, though. I probably would have made it a little more bluish than what it wound up being. And also, if I'm going to nitpick one other thing, is I feel like his eyebrows are too light because they made it that same yellow color as the rest of his hair. And Flash, usually when he's depicted in illustrations, has darker eyebrows. So I don't know if making him black paint would have worked, but maybe like a brown paint or something like that. See, like the NECA one has brown eyebrows, and to me that looks about right. So maybe they should have given him brown eyebrows instead of yellow eyebrows. I'm just throwing it out there. So, but other than that, he looks really good. And let's go ahead. I'm going to put the sword in his right hand. And get Ming with his sword. Put Ming's sword in the left hand. Ming can be a lefty. That's fine. Somebody's got to be a lefty. All right, so there we can duel. I think it usually works better to have one with the sword in the left hand and one with the sword in the right hand, so then you can have both figures kind of turn towards the camera as they duel. So that's pretty cool. I really like these figures. You know, I love Superpowers just in general. Like those were some of my favorite figures that I had when I was growing up. And I like having these classic characters in the Superpowers format. Yeah, they're not DC characters, but you know, they still are characters that I think are important enough to popular culture. I like having them in this style, and I would like having them interact with the DC characters, like have Flash Gordon team up with Superman or something like that. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one, and tomorrow I will probably be back with something else, but I don't know what yet. So it's going to be a surprise to you. It's certainly going to be a surprise to me. But if you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all that fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Flash Gordon, both this figure and the character in general. He is one of the fathers of the superhero genre. So very important character in our popular culture, I think. And Boss Fight Studios did a great job with this figure. Thanks for watching. We will talk to you next time. Bye.